congratulations on downloading the Reclaim Your Schedule workbook, designed to help you gain up to 20 hours back from your research administration work into your life each week once you start using the system. Now, this is just the first step towards creating freedom from work, but it's a really, really great first step. If you haven't had a chance to download the handout yet, here's what I want to recommend. Put pause on this video, click on the link in the video, it's in the show notes, and download the Reclaim Your Schedule workbook, because we're going to be using that as our framework. If you haven't downloaded it yet, we're going to show the screens we'll show the pages on the screen so you can actually see what it is that we're talking about. But you'll want to download it later on to get started. Now, here's how I recommend using this tool. I recommend that my clients and students use this tool when they are either feeling overwhelmed with all of the things that they need to get done. So there's one thing after another. They feel like there's a tsunami of activities that are piling up behind them, and they're really worried that they're not going to be able to get through everything. And you're trying to really get a handle on it and just get an understanding of what the lay of the land looks like. The second way that you might use this is once you've actually already sort of gotten your life organized, you feel really good about everything, because typically that's what will happen. You'll go through the process. The first time you go through it, it'll take some time, just because it's the first time. But once you sort of start to get an idea of the flow and the cadence and how it works, each subsequent time that you use this tool will get faster and faster and faster until it becomes sort of just something that you do. So I use this mechanism now constantly anytime I feel overwhelmed, or anytime someone that I'm working with feels overwhelmed or isn't able to clock out. So this is like, if you feel like I got to do just one more thing, before you clock out at night, or if you find yourself thinking about work when you're trying to sleep, or if you wake up at 3 a.m. with the racing thoughts of all of the things that you need to get done, and then you can't get back to sleep because you got to do all those things. This tool really helps to put all of that in perspective, and then feel like give you a feeling of control over your activity list. The challenge that exists is that as human beings, and this is really, really important, because over the years, what I found is that almost with every person that I've worked with, including myself, the people who've worked with me, is that we have this idea that once we know these tools and we're like, okay, I figured this out, then now I figured it out and I've got it under control. And then in 6 months to a year, when we find ourselves back in the same place, we're like, how did I get here? This is terrible. I should know better. I've learned this. And there's this whole self-flagellation thing that goes on, because we've recognized how much of our time we're spending at work and we're just not happy, right? And so now we're like, how did I get here? What do I do? That's when you pull the tool out again. The thing to keep in mind is that as human beings, we are going to drift. That is actually part of our programming. So there's very little that we're going to put into place in terms of our workflow that is not going to drift over time just because of the way life is. The key with this tool is to recognize when you're starting to get overwhelmed, or recognize when things are starting to get out of control a little bit, so that you can push on the brakes, recalibrate, and start again. With each subsequent exercise, you'll get faster and faster and faster at recognizing when you're starting to get to that space. And so after a little while, what happens is that you start to notice it earlier on, to where it's really like, oh, I'm starting to get a little overwhelmed. Let's pull out the tool, do the thing. All right, bam, we're good to go. All right. So now that you know how I use this tool, the next step is how I use this tool in my bigger picture. The next step is, how do we use the tool sort of on a more tactical level? All right. So I want you to pull out your handout, and the first screen is the Reclaim Your Schedule cover, so we can pass that on. And the very first thing that it talks about really is, how are we going to break this up? So the way that this process is broken up, if you look at the table of contents that you can see on your screen now, is we start by deconstructing time management assumptions, like some things that we take for granted about time that influence how we decide what we're going to do with our day. And a lot of these assumptions are things that have been conditioned into us by people who taught us about time management, and who taught them about time management, and so on. And most of them are not true. And so as a result, we set up a framework for how we're going to manage our day based off of faulty assumptions about how our brain works, about how work flows, about how time management functions, and how strategy and tactics can get derailed by human behavior. So looking at the 4 things that we're going to talk about initially, and we'll talk about them briefly as we get there, we'll talk about the assumptions. Then we will reframe it and talk about the new approach. How are we going to approach this now? The new approach in and of itself is going to allow you to feel a little bit of freedom, because you'll see how you'll start to think about the things that you're able to not do. Why am I doing that thing? I don't think I need to do this. And it'll start to really build that confidence that you're moving into a space that you're going to have control over the items that are on your list. That starts by first taking an inventory of what it is that you're doing right now. So there's an exercise where you're going to take inventory of what you're doing right now, and I'll get into the exercise and how you're going to do that as we move through the workbook. And then I will give you a framework for prioritization and give you some resources in terms of where you can go to learn how to do each of these things more specifically if you want to dive in. This workbook can be done on its own without any other resources, even without this video. You could do it on your own. This video is there to help support you in the event that you like to have somebody with you while you're doing it. But in the event that you're like, okay, I really like this idea, I want to dig deeper and learn more and just really start to break some of this apart, I'll share the resources with you where you can go for that. And then last, we're going to talk about how you can prioritize your workload and how prioritization works in research administration, where we have so many competing priorities, and some of which the deadlines are determined for us, and others where we get to determine our own deadlines, and how do you navigate between those two spaces and decide what to do. Okay, so we're going to go through all of that, and by the end, you're going to have an understanding of, okay, this is what I want my day to look like. This is how I'm going to structure my day. This is what I anticipate happening that's going to kind of derail me, but that's already built in, so I'm not going to be too worried about it. And so you'll now go into your days feeling a little bit less like your emails are controlling everything that you do. Oh, I got to do this. Oh, I got to do this. Bing, bing, bing. You know, instead of that, you are now more measured in your approach, and so things don't get to take you off guard as quickly. Okay, right. You've got the workbook, you've got the videos, you've got the passion, you've got the desire. Now it's time for you to go reclaim your schedule. Send me an email. Comment on this post. Let me know how it went for you. I cannot wait to hear how awesome you feel after having gone through it just once. And to make sure that you don't miss any content from me, don't forget to like me on social media, subscribe, and follow me.